Hey friends, welcome back to The Twig. We are glad that you are here.
Yes, today we're reflecting on Hebrews 11, and it's that beautiful passage often called the Faith Hall of Fame. There are so many people listed in this chapter, but today we want to focus on just two of them. And they don't get a lot of airtime in the whole of Scripture, but they are mentioned here in this list: Abel and Sarah. So Abel had a faith that gave, Sarah had a faith that received. And the same is true for you and I. Sometimes faith will invite you to give, and sometimes faith will invite you to receive.
And in either case, we just want to focus on a simple idea. Faith has roots. It's not just wishful thinking or blind optimism. It's grounded in memory, remembering who God has already shown himself to be. So in Hebrews chapter 11, it starts out, now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance of what we do not see. And this is what the ancients were commended for. By faith, we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. So faith has roots. We may not be able to see the roots, but the roots are here. So I love verse 3. By faith, we understand that the universe was formed at God's command. And we see that the universe is all around us, earth here, stars at night. But by faith, we understand that those roots were God commanding the form of the universe. Mm-hmm. So from the beginning, from this roots of faith, people have responded to God. People have received and have given. So Hebrew 11 lists people who have lived lives of faith.
Mm-hmm. In that list of faith is Abel. Now, Abel does not get a lot of airtime in the Bible, but what we do know is powerful. Abel's the second born of Adam and Eve, who we read about in Genesis chapter 4. And we learn that God was pleased with Abel for offering fat from one of his animals, while his older brother Cain's offering of some fruit was not looked on with God's favor. So Abel brought a costly gift to God, and he didn't give the leftovers. He gave his very best.
So his faith was that he gave. It's an act of trust, an offering that said, God, I believe you are worth it, even if it costs me something.
And it really did. It did cost him something. His story ends in tragedy. He's killed by his brother, but Hebrews tells us through his faith, he still speaks. Now, that kind of faith doesn't disappear. It echoes, it leaves a legacy, it outlasts his life. And as pastors, we've attended a lot of funerals through the years, and the thing about legacy is nobody stands up at your funeral and says, like, let's talk about how much money this person made. Let's talk about how many degrees they earned. No. I mean, at a funeral, after a person is gone, what we tend to remember, what we tend to focus on is the quality and the character of their affections. Like how it was that he brought her flowers on Sunday night, or how she cooked his favorite meal on his birthday, or how they would just pop fresh popcorn as a family and curl up for movie nights on Friday nights. These are the things people talk about, these little things after a person is gone. It's the way in which, they trusted Jesus, believed in God, even in the midst of hard times where it seemed God could not be found. So just like Hebrews 11 says about Abel, through his faith he still speaks. Your legacy will still speak, and my legacy will still speak after we are gone. The question is, what will it speak about? Like Abel's life is a legacy that speaks about a faith that gives, even after the trauma and injustice of his story, being killed by his brother.
So then we meet Sarah, and her story is different because her faith received. No less rooted in faith, Sarah is told that she will have a child. But by the time the promise comes, her body says it's too late. Mm-hmm. Sarah and Abraham are a fascinating story, starting in Genesis chapter 11. And I love that Sarah is listed here in this faith chapter because she seems to be coming along for the ride, the one taken along by Abraham. But Sarah's faith is equal to Abraham's. She is right by his side, leaving her country, going to an unknown place. She is hearing God's promise and making a people who are his very own. And as the years go by, she grows older and older, and no baby.
And what does she do? Well, at first, when she hears this news, she laughs, which honestly just makes me love her even more, because she hears this promise, and her first response is like, yeah, right.
But then something shifts. She decides to trust anyway. Hebrews said she considered him faithful who made the promise.
That's the heart of faith, right? Not having all the answers, not always feeling 100% sure, but remembering who God has been and saying, okay, I will trust you again.
So faith has roots. It grows in the soil of memory. And it could be your memory, your experiences of God, or how God has encountered you, or when God has felt present in your life. But also we draw from the soil of others' memory. We hear a list of faith like this, and their stories encourage us. We can learn something about who God is and what relationship with God is like. So we draw from the faith of those who have gone before us as well.
When you remember the moments God showed up for you, like the provision, the healing, the unexpected kindness, those become your foundation for today, for having faith today.
So if your faith feels shaky today, we want you to go back and say, in your mind's eye, remember. Remember. And then trace through the stories the fingerprints of God. You know, it could be in your story or to look to someone else's story and look for God's fingerprints there. And that's where faith grows.
And if you're in a season where it feels like you're waiting, like Sarah, or offering something costly, like Abel, know this, that you're not alone. Like your faith will not be forgotten. Even if no one else sees, God sees. And God knows you and God cares about you and the details of your story.
Yeah, and you are part of a long line of people who trusted God, even when it didn't make sense, even when you couldn't see it.
So may you walk in that legacy today, rooted and remembering and trusting in the one who is always faithful.
Yes. So grace and peace, friends. We'll see you next time.